Next on WoodSongs, it's a celebration of the fiddle with master fiddler Mark O'Connor.
The television broadcast of WoodSongs Old-Time Radio Hour is made possible in part by the Lexington Convention and Visitors Bureau, providing information to families, conventions and vacationers to visit the horse farms, bourbon trails and music of Lexington and Central Kentucky. Online at visitlex.com. C.F. Martin and Company, makers of handcrafted American-made Martin guitars since 1833. American Recordable Media, manufacturing CDs, DVD, and more for independent artists worldwide. Insight Communications, providers of cable, telephone, high-definition television, and broadband internet service.
Here on the Louisiana Hayride, his name is Hank Williams, the drifting cowboy.
On the Grand Ole Opry, Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys.
Hi, this is Bruce Hornsby. Hi, this is Kevin Moe.
Hey folks, this is Bela Fleck.
Hi folks, this is Sam Bush.
Hello, this is Odetta.
This is Joan Baez, and you're listening to the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And now, gather the family around and sit back in your easy chair. It's time again for the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour, our worldwide celebration of grassroots music. Let's welcome folk singer, author, and tree hugger, Michael Jonathan.
A couple of hundred years in the middle America, the Indians were on the Trail of Tears, and they were being forced west out of their homes, and a story emerged that was repeated by many of the cowboys about a young Indian maiden who fell in love with a young Indian boy, and the story of their love affair became legend. Her name means Daughter of the Stars. It's a beautiful name, and it became a very popular American folk song. The cowboys actually started to sing a song about this young Indian maiden. This song is found in one of the method books of the artists that we're featuring on our entire broadcast tonight. The song is called Shenandoah. Shenandoah, I long to see you all the way. You golden river, Shenandoah, I long to see you so far away. I'm bound away across the wide Missouri. Shenandoah, I love your daughter all the way. You golden river, Shenandoah, I do so love your daughter away. I'm bound away across the wide Missouri. Shenandoah, I'm bound to leave you away, you golden river, Shenandoah, I am bound to leave you so far away. I'm bound away across the wide Missouri. And welcome to the historic Kentucky Theater. And here we are in our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky, broadcasting all over the world. We're at the crossroads of America's folk and bluegrass music. We're the gateway city to the beautiful Appalachian Mountains, where so much wonderful music and art does come from and has spread all over the world. On this stage, we celebrate this grassroots diamond. We view this folk music as a beautiful diamond with so many different facets. It's folk and it's blues, it's bluegrass, it's country, Celtic, old-timey, new singer-songwriters. Sometimes it's classical, sometimes it's opera, sometimes it's things like we're going to enjoy tonight as we celebrate not just a singular artist, but a master violinist, a world-renowned fiddler, one of the most in-demand session musicians out of Nashville over the past couple decades. When he was 13 years old, he won the Grand Masters Fiddling Championship in Nashville, which is a hard thing for a 13-year-old to do. He has since gone on to sell over 2 million records. He's a Grammy Award winner, and most importantly tonight, he is a teacher. And on tonight's broadcast, this is going to be a global music lesson with something called the Mark O'Connor Method teaching of the violin. And we're going to take a really good look at the violin and his way of teaching. And we've even got a bunch of students that are going to be on this stage performing with Mark. The opening song that we did together was called Shenandoah, which is part of his series of method books. And he's got a brand new album called American Classics. This is a part of his method teaching system. And he's got a song on there called Rubber Dolly Rag that he's going to introduce himself with you. Please welcome the one and the only Mark O'Connor to the WoodSongs Old Time Radio. Rubber Dolly Rag from his brand new album. It's called American Classic. It's a beautiful album. Mark, welcome to the show. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Been a couple of years since you've been here, and since then you have done so much. I mean, it's like 1 hour can't contain your activity and stuff. But you're here really for a specific purpose. And before we get into the teaching thing, we got to talk about the musician that you are. It makes the teaching make a lot more sense. I mean, I built you up, which is all true, all the stuff about the Grammy and stuff. But when you were a little kid, and you're 13 years old, and you win this Grand Fiddle Championship out there, I mean, how early did you start playing?
Guitar was my first instrument. I started at 5 or 6, and I didn't learn the violin until I was 11. And so I progressed very rapidly because I was so inspired with American music, which is part of the inspiration and motivation to create this method. The American music scene, I was just absorbing it from right and left.
Now you were still living in Seattle at the time?
From Seattle, so much of my experience early on came from recordings and a little bit on television. There was only 4 channels, and so anytime there was any kind of violin playing going on, we probably caught it on television. One of my first inspirations was Doug Kershaw, who played the Cajun music. And so one of my first songs that I loved was things that he would play, like Joe LeBlanc and Diggy Diggy Lie, Diggy Diggy
Now,
Lie.
you're 11 years old, you're just picking up the fiddle, and this kind of music was making sense to you musically at 11 years old?
Yes, I think there was the joy, the sense of joy about it, but also it culturally kind of connected to me. Felt like music from my own hemisphere. And I had been playing classical music before then on the guitar. And to tune into what was going on here in the Americas, especially on this instrument, the joy of the instrument and also the feeling of the slow music. I loved the waltzes and the spirituals and even the blues. I was playing the blues when I was 11 years old on the fiddle.
Well, let's get this right. You've won 2 Grammy Awards. You've had 8 Grammy nominations, 7 CMA Awards, 7 National and Grandmaster Fiddling Championships, 2 National Guitar Champions, World Mandolin Championship, mandolin on top of everything, Fret's Magazine Musician of the Year for like 4 years in a row, and the Irish American Top 100. Just throw that in for the... Let's get into your music. He's got a new CD, American Classics. We're going to explain what this album is and how it's to be used. This is a song from one of your inspirations, right? Stefan Grappelli. It's one of his pieces, right?
Yes, my great teacher Benny Thomason taught me all the American fiddle music, and then when I was 17 and 18, I was mentored by the great Stefan Grappelli, who I toured with, and this is one of his pieces, which is inspired by American jazz, so that's why I put it in the method.
Well, check it out. It's called Daphne. It's Mark O'Connor on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. From the CD American Classics song Daphne, Mark O'Connor. And let's give some props to Melissa Tong playing the keyboards there, the piano. She's on the piano. And Mark, what folks are listening to you do is what they would find on the CD American Classics. You're sort of exploring the canon of American folk music as it relates to the violin.
Yes, and using folk music, especially American music styles, to learn how to play the violin. That's the principal concept of the method, and using American materials, which I found to be very, very assimilating and enjoyable as a young student.
Well, in talking, let's describe what the method is that you're talking about. When somebody wants to learn the violin, they can go to a violin teacher. They can go do it in school. There's the Suzuki method. And now, starting since 2009, I believe it was, you came up with your own teaching method, the O'Connor method of learning the violin. So teaching is a very big passion with you. You don't want to just be a master player. You're trying to get people to pick up the instrument themselves.
Yes, I mean, I've always had this concept that part of my goal in life as a musician is to leave an environment that would be better musically and artistically for the new generation coming up. Open doors. Certainly the doors that I was able to open as an artist and as a musician and composer were initially for me to get through, but that's never enough for me. I wanted to make sure that they stayed open and new innovations could take place, and maybe even a string revolution in America.
Well, you're certainly working on that. I mean, you had the great Appalachian Waltz project, which we're going to get to in the second half hour. You've written concertos for the fiddle that symphony orchestras play. Well, in fact, isn't one that you wrote one of the most performed pieces in classical music right now?
Yes, my first concerto, the fiddle concerto, now is almost 20 years old, and it's received more performances than any other modern day written concerto since Shostakovich's.
Well, new music in classical world is hard to sell, so you did good, my friend. Very good. So what we have here is volume 3 of something called the O'Connor Violin Method, and the songs that you're performing tonight are all found in the book. They're fully notated. In the back of the book are the CDs, one with the keyboard and you performing the song, so the student gets to hear how technically should be done. And then the second CD is just the piano, so they can play the exact same song, but without you, right?
Yeah.
So you've really carefully thought this book out.
Yeah, it's been really a huge amount of time researching this. Much of the method is my own experiences as a student. Then I started my string camps 20 years ago, and these string camps have seen over 5,000 unique registrations through them. And in this environment, I was able to put the finishing touches on the American method, trying different things out on the students that have come through. Matter of fact, I'm sure there's students that have come through my camps right here in this audience. Everywhere I go, there's now a student that shows up that I was at your camp one year.
Well, it must be a nice feeling. That means that what you dreamed of doing with the teaching and with the music is actually happening, and now you're seeing the children of your students picking up the violin. So.
And one of the concepts of the camp was to be very inclusive of music, and that's really the American style anyway, and how these things are interrelated. And I want to tell students that if you can play a fiddle tune, you can easily play bluegrass. If you can play bluegrass, you can connect to jazz. If you can play jazz, you can connect over to rock and roll and hip hop. It's all interconnected, and it's really about the language of the music, and it's so powerful. And it starts with some of our great classic folk songs, our blues, our spirituals, and ragtime and the hoedown.
Well, and you're using music that a lot of folks will have heard these melodies before, and that's something that they train their ear to follow. And we're going to talk as the hour progresses the difference between being beholden to the chart and the notes on the paper and interpreting the music from the heart, which is something that you're an expert at. You're both a classical musician and a from the heart fiddler. So let's get back into the music. The CD is called American Classics. It's part of this O'Connor Violin Method, the violin book number 3. It's the 3rd edition in the series. This is a tune called Old Folks at Home. It's Mark O'Connor on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio. 1, 2, 3. Old Folks at Home, beautifully performed by our guest for the whole hour, Grammy-winning violinist and teacher, Mark O'Connor. If you want to know more about Mark, his tour schedule, especially the O'Connor Violin Method, the 3 volumes, the books that teach students how to play the violin, and they have the CDs in the back so that the students could actually hear how it should be done and then get to perform. It's a wonderful teaching method. Just visit our website, woodsongs.com, click on the archive page. This is show number 664. We'll let you know everything you need to know about Mr. Mark O'Connor and how to contact him and make the O'Connor Violin Method part of your home music collection. Violin Method, Volume 3. If you want to know more about Mark, his teaching system, if making the album and music book part of your home music collection interests you, if you're a violin student and want to learn more from Mark O'Connor or his tour schedule or anything about his work, just visit our website, woodsongs.com. Click on the archive page. This is show number 665. and 64. We'll let you know everything about Mark. And Mark, the teaching method that you use, that you developed, is different from Suzuki. It's different from the normal system that folks use in schools. In the second half hour, we're going to have a lot of students of your method on stage, right?
Yes, we're really lucky to have great teachers right here in Lexington who are teaching my method to
It's
students.
all over the world. Just happens to be two really good ones here, right?
Absolutely, and I'm so happy that these students are here with us, and they belong to the Daniel and Amy Carwile studio right here in Lexington.
Right here in Lexington.
Yes.
Well, we've got about 9 young students. I want the audience to get ready for this. These are 9 young kids. I mean, Mark, they look like they're from like 7 years old up to 17. And so they're going to be performing with you the entire half hour, and you're going to explain your teaching method and how this works. But right now, we want to introduce one of the students from Frankfort, Kentucky, and the Franklin High School. Her name is Sadie Meyer. Let's bring Sadie out. So, Mark, this song that she's about to perform is in your method book, Volume 3, right?
Yes, this is where it gets to be closer to advanced playing now, intermediate to lower advanced playing, and so this is a great example of a hornpipe, a tune that can teach you how to play accurately using arpeggios that is built into the actual melodic structure of the piece.
Okay, so here she is, a senior in high school, correct? And she's going to perform a song from the American Classics CD and the lesson book. It's called Herman's Hornpipe. It's Sadie Meyer from Frankfort, Kentucky. From Franklin High School in Frankfort, Kentucky, Sadie Meyer performing the song Herman's Hornpipe from Mark O'Connor's
Hi, this is Tommy Emmanuel, and you are exploring the world of grassroots music with folk singer Michael Jonathan on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour.
And there's the master musician himself, Tommy Emmanuel, great Australian guitarist. We are celebrating music, grassroots music of all kinds on the stage of the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour. You tuned into this fine radio station. We are broadcasting from Australia to Ireland, New Zealand to New York, Yuma, Arizona to the Yukon in northern Canada. And we're here with a Grammy Award winner, master musician Mark O'Connor. He's got a new CD called American Classics and has an accompanying violin book on how you can learn how to play the violin and the songs that he's playing. So it's a book full of American folk songs. The CD has wonderful, simple examples on how you can perform these songs. Mark is here with his keyboard player, his pianist, Melissa Tong from New York, and he's going to play a song off that album, off the American Classics CD, called Simple Gifts. It's Mark O'Connor on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio. Beautiful done. Majestic piano part by Melissa Tong, who's also a violin teacher in New York City, right, Mark? And she teaches your method at a very popular school in New York City.
Yes, the 3rd Street Music School, which is the oldest community music school in the country. And Melissa is one of our top teachers on the method on the violin. And I should also mention that we have the whole series for viola and cello and orchestra, school orchestra now.
Wow! So schools can participate in your teaching method.
Yes.
As well. In Lexington, there's a violin school, that is run by our friends Daniel and Amy Carwile, and they've got a lot of students. And we've invited their students who use your teaching method to come out on stage. So let's get the kids to come on out. There's about 9 of them. Look how. There they are. And of course, Amy, one of their teachers, is going to join them, and Daniel's over there with the acoustic guitars. It's called Appalachia Waltz by Mark O'Connor on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio Hour. Beautiful piece of music. It's the Appalachia Waltz, written by teacher Mark O'Connor, found in Method Book 1 of his teaching method. So, Mark, what is the teaching method that you're using that's going to help these young boys and girls? They're like 7. How old are you? You're 7 years old, so I was right. So the youngest seems to be 7 years old. The oldest must be, what, 16, 15 years old? How old are you, young man? You're 14. Okay, so that's a young circle, right? And they're playing very well. They're very confident. What is the method that you're using to teach them?
It also involves music of the Americas as well, so Canadian music and Mexican music is included in the method. There's a lot to do with the history of the music, so the actual learning about the history of, especially of the traditional pieces, is a part of the lesson, and that also establishes cultural relevancy. So you can connect your music and your lesson to the world around you.
This is a very popular old song called Bonaparte's Retreat. It's Mark O'Connor on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Got 9 young kids on stage performing with master fiddler Mark O'Connor. I guess we'll call him the Lexington String Orchestra, Mark, for the fact that they're all coming from our hometown area of Lexington, Kentucky, and they're all using the Mark O'Connor method of learning the violin. Now, they don't have music in front of them, and what is a very hard thing for a classical violinist to play, and we have to praise the classical world, the way they interpret the written note. It takes a great skill, a lot of heart, and a lot of passion to do that. But it's difficult for them to go from the chart to the heart form of playing, where they're just exploding the music from their soul without needing to do what fiddlers do.
That's why we've included a third thing in this method. So traditionally, you have solo repertoire, and then you have orchestra repertoire for string players. And in the American method, we have the good old American jam session. And that is the third component to the method. So what we just did here was we're combining now the solo method, the orchestra method, and then I took a solo. That was improvised, and that is called a jam session. And so these young children now are part of a new concept that they will emerge into as they become more and more creative. And that's where the heart and the soul of the Americana is discovered in jamming.
Okay, so you are a classical violinist. You've been playing the violin for 20 or 30 years. You are really locked down to that world of performing off the written note. You take away the written note, don't really know what to do. How does your method help an experienced, trained classical player to learn how to hear music out of their heart and just play it with their fingers?
Well, we've been dealing with that for 20 years with my string camps, and it has been a little bit frustrating. That's why this method starts at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And I introduce creative measures and improvisational and almost compositional techniques right from the very beginning, just even altering one note. I always say that in American music, if you are 7 years old and you are allowed to change one note of your tune, it's as if you were a high school student writing a whole song. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of power of creativity that the young child feels in the American system.
Well, it's a wonderful thing seeing these kids playing so well and having so much fun. They're about to perform another song that's laid out for you in nice, simple terms in Mark O'Connor's Method book, the first volume. It's a very popular song that most people have heard of before. It's called Amazing Grace. It's Mark O'Connor on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio. Beautiful. Dan Carwile on acoustic guitar, Melissa Tong playing the piano. We've got the Lexington String Orchestra here from the Carwile studio. Olivia Lee, Ella Webster, Olivia Pepiot, I hope I said that right, Sydney Carter, Bailey Yates, Blakely Berger, Ollie Hagan, Amber Atkins, and Selena Luo, a wonderful group of kids that are from our hometown, right here in Lexington. We're going to let these kids have a little bit of fun. They're going to get into some rock and roll now here. It's found in Mark O'Connor's Method book #1. This is a fun song called The Boogie Woogie. It's Mark O'Connor on the WoodSongs, Old Time Radio.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Nine young kids on stage with their violins, playing with Mark O'Connor. Wasn't it great having Mark on the show? And congratulations to Mark on his wonderful series of violin method books. And his volume 3's got the CD and in the back where you can learn how you can play the songs that you heard on this show. If you've ever wanted to perform, if you ever wanted to play, I want the audience to understand a very, very important difference between the two. Having music part of your life doesn't mean it has to be part of your livelihood. The greatest stage in the world is your own living room couch. The greatest audience in the world are your own children. Weren't they wonderful tonight, these kids playing? There is something happening across America, and it's really the whole world. A lot of kids don't have what Mark O'Connor had when he was a young little boy and wanting to learn the guitar and the violin or whatever he wanted to do, the mandolin. He's a young kid, but he had inspiration. He had a family around him that was supporting them. These kids have moms and dads that have spent the entire day today so that they can be on the WoodSongs stage. A lot of kids don't have that. All they have is music and art in school. And if we take music and art out of the school, we have severed the only source of inspiration these kids have. Keep music and art alive in the schools. This is very important. My name is Michael Jonathan. I'm a folk singer. I am a tree hugger, and we'll see you next week on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour. Good night.
You've been listening to WoodSongs broadcast number 664. Michael's opening song was Shenandoah from his album WoodSongs, featuring our special guest, Mark O'Connor.
Thank you for tuning in. There are so many talented artists that appear on our stage. It's very hard sometimes to pick the ones that appear on our TV broadcast. So what we're going to do is leave you with a performance from our huge online archive of past shows. We'll see you next time on the WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour. It was 1694, and a music teacher in Europe was invited to a wedding. And he took 8 little notes and he put them together in a round. It took about 400 years. And finally somebody found this piece of music and published it in 1919. It took another 20 or 30 years before somebody would find the published book and use it in their own wedding. Now it's become one of the most popular pieces of classical music in the world. All surrounding 8 little notes. Over and over.
The television broadcast of WoodSongs Old Time Radio Hour is made possible in part by the Lexington Convention and Visitors Bureau, providing information to families, conventions and vacationers to visit the horse farms, bourbon trails and music of Lexington and Central Kentucky. Online at visitlex.com. C.F. Martin and Company, makers of handcrafted American-made Martin guitars since 1833. American Recordable Media, manufacturing CDs, DVD, and more for independent artists worldwide. Insight Communications, providers of cable, telephone, high-definition television, and broadband internet service.